Let's continue. To say that Bridget and to say that Bridget had never liked him was a gross understatement. Over the first few months, she had developed a small facial tic at the sound of his name. Bridget, you know I love you and Colin, and you are sweet to invite me. But for the thousandth time, no. I'd be a third wheeler, and on New Year's Eve's of all nights, you wouldn't be a third wheeler, she countered. You'd be with friends. Friends who are a couple, which would make me the third wheel. No offense, but I'd rather stick glasses in my eyes. Offense? Don't be silly. Who could take offense at that? You simply prefer self mutilation to a weekend with friends? Only figuratively. Only figuratively. The truth is, It's been a long week, and all I want to do is relax and catch up on some reading. While that's the true, while that was true, I was also refusing for more altruistic alt, altruistic reason. Altruistic reason is like more reasons. I don't know. Wacha tuangalie. I don't know the meaning of that. I don't know the meaning of that. Oh, I'm bleeding. Let me pause first. I've hurt myself while I was trying to push my tripod. It's very awkward, and I didn't think it was that deep, but I had started bleeding. Anyway, let's continue. I knew something she didn't. Collins was planning to propose at the stroke of midnight on New Year's. On New Year's. Reading? Yes, reading. I replied with a lofty wave of my hand. I have decided to devote myself to the improvement of my mind by extensive reading. Bridget narrowed her eyes. That's from Pride and Prejudice, isn't it? Damn it, Elizabeth. Whenever you start quoting from a PP, I know you are in a mood, I swear. That book is your security blanket when you are upset. Luckily, the chime of the doorbell saved me from a response. Oh God, cried Bridget. It's Collins. Can you let him in? Tell him I'll just be a minute. I rolled off the bed and went upstairs to let Collins in. Colin is 6'2", with curly brown hair and large brown eyes. To me, he always resembled an enormous teddy bear came to life. That pretty much sums up his personality too. He's like the big brother every girl wished she had. He was still stamping his wet feet on the doormat when Bridget poked her head out of the room and hollered down. Hollered ni kuteremka mbio stairs if I'm not wrong. Colin, I'll be ready in 2 seconds. Try to convince Elizabeth to come with us. She needs cheering up. Colin glanced quizzically at me. Is that true? No, she will certainly not be ready in 2 seconds. I meant about your needing cheering up. I'm fine. She's refusing to mark. Oh, that's right, said Colin, rearranging his face into a sober expression. I was sorry to hear you two broke up. Liar. He grinned and dipped his head in acknowledgement. Okay, you are right. The news made the news made my day. The guy was a jackass. Pulling me into a quick hug, he added, "You deserve nothing but the best, Elizabeth. Don't forget that." See why I love Colin? Eventually, Bridget emerged from her room, dragging a bulging suitcase. Ignoring her pleas that I join them, I, res- I, I resortly settled down on the couch with a copy of Full Flankers, with a copy of Faulkner's. Is it Faulkner's? I don't know what that is, so we're gonna write that word down and research it. The sound and the fairy. Finally, conceiving her that all I wanted to do was stay home and read. With Colin looking grateful and Bridget looking concerned, they left me to tackle the novel. However, with their exit, the apartment seemed un- utterly quiet. Pia sijuagi meaning ya utterly. And I had trouble concentrating on the text. Our landlord didn't allow animals, so I didn't even have the warmth of a furry friend to comfort me. Our only pets, if you could even call them pet, was two goldfish purchased during a rare domesticity domesticity. Unfortunately, our local pet store didn't stock a particularly hardly variety. Didn't stock a particularly hardy variety, resulting in bi-monthly replacement visit. Bi-monthly. Oh, resulting in bi-monthly replacement visit. As a result, I'd named each new pair Rosencarters and Guildenstern. It didn't change their fate, but it added a little drama when I had to announce it. 45 minutes later, after having read the first 12 pages of Benji's narrative a total of 8 times, I flung the book down, now feeling hungry, lonely, and stupid. Deciding that I could alt- alleviate that I could alleviate at least one of those problems, I grabbed the bag of Oreos just as the phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, my mood went from bad to worse. It was my sister Kate. I knew what was coming. One of her goals in life is to see me married, and while I am in no way opposed to the idea, it is not my driving force in life. As I expected, as I expected, no sooner did she hear my voice than she launched into rapid fire speech. She had heard the news of my breakup from our mother and was clearly dumbfounded. How could I let a catch like Mark slip away? Didn't I understand that with each passing year, my chances of getting married diminished? In quotes, I I am all of 26. Didn't didn't I know that I had to in quotes reel them in while I was still young, in quotes. The way Kit tossed around the fishing jargon, you'd think she was a seasoned angler. I think najua angler, but we are building our vocabulary. But the closest she ever got to fish was in her grocer's freezer section. I didn't want to tell her that the real reason for the breakup, that Mark had been seeing at least two other women behind my back. So I did any reasonable so I did what any reasonable person in my position would do. I lied. Unfortunately, it's not a skill adapt that I am adept at, and the reason I gave her adept at. Wait, not there. Wait, wait. I swear I do not know the meaning of that. Is it adept, adapt? At and at the and the reason I gave her that he smoked sounded silly even to me. I know Kit found it funny because she laughed for a good 30 seconds loudly. Then she launched into a lecture. The point of which was that unless I stopped being so picky, I was going to end up alone. She said this she said this last bit in the whispery kind of voice some people reserve for revealing a stint in prison or a terminal illness. Stint. What is a stint? As she continued to scoff at my pickiness, something inside me snapped. Candidly, I volunteered. He cheated on me. Kit, okay. Silence answered. Kit, are you there? Finally, all in one breath, I got, oh, you poor thing. What a terrible thing to have to go through. No wonder you didn't want to tell me. How awful. Not that I have any personal experience, of course. Well, don't worry about it. I won't mention it again, except to say that I always thought that there was something untrustworthy about him. His eyes are too close together for one. And he really could be a pompous jackass at times. But there is no pain in going into all of that now. Are you alone? You shouldn't be alone. Where's Bridget? Oh, that's right. Colin's proposing this weekend, isn't it? Isn't he? Well, don't let that get you down. I know what you are probably thinking. You're thinking that you are going to end up you're going to end up someone lonely old woman who lives with cats, but that's not true. Actually, Kit, I was thinking that good, that's the spirit. Okay, here is what we'll do. I'll calm down. No, that won't work. Tom and I are having a huge party this weekend for some clients. It's been unbelievably stressful. You'll just have to come here. My brother-in-law sells hot tubs. It wasn't hard to imagine where the night would end with a party composed of fellow enthusiasts in a house with the deluxe model. She continued on. You come here and we'll forget all about Mark. We won't even mention him. Do you know who has do you know who he was seeing? Is she pretty? You poor thing. The thing about my sister is that she does mean well. However, her idea of well and my idea of well are on opposite ends of the spectrum. I know she wouldn't stop about the party until I either agreed to come or produced a reasonable excuse. Panic set in as my brain frantically struggled to generate the latter. Happily, my eyes landed at Aunt Winnie's post-it. With a heroic effort to keep any trace of relief out of my voice, I told her that sadly I couldn't possibly go to her party as I was already going to Aunt Winnie's. There was a brief pause as Kit absorbed this information. Aunt Winnie's having a party? She asked, a note of hurt in her voice. Well, it's more of a work weekend, really. I fibbed, thinking she just needs my help getting the inn ready. What is fibbed? I don't know the meaning of fibbed. I think she just needs my help getting the inn ready. Oh, I see. That makes sense. Well, as long as she doesn't let you cook, everything should be fine, she said, breaking out into the overly hearty laugh she employed whenever she insulted me. It was meant to imply we are all just one big happy, teasing family, and if you don't get that, then you are way too sensitive. All it did was set my teeth on edge. Thanking her for the invitation and promising that I would call if I needed to talk, I hung up on another. Oh, you poor thing. I looked at the Oreos. After my third one, I realized I needed something stronger. I needed a large glass of Chardonnay. Inakuwaga ni Chardonnay. Hebu niangalie spelling ya sijuagi kuipronounce. Chardonnay. Is it Chardonnay ama ni Chardonnay? And a large dose of Craiggrant. Tuone spelling hiyo, how to pronounce Craiggrant. Pulling my woolly cardigan around me, I went to ransack Bridget's DVD collection. Passing the whole table, I reread Aunt Winnie's invitation. I reread. Yo, ni nini hizo nasoma? I reread Aunt Winnie's invitation. I realized that I really did want to go, and not just so that I would end up in a hot tub with my brother-in-law's single clients. No, I thought with a smile, a visit with Aunt Winnie was just what I needed. Right after North by West, my goal to get an early start was thwarted. Thwarted. I don't know what it means. Niku stop. Thwarted niku stop. I'm not an early riser, and Kit called me 6 more times to try to convince me to come to her party instead. Just as I was leaving, call number 7 came in. I let the answering machine deal with it. pushing my black suitcase out of the door. I heard her say that if I was worried about not having a nice dress, she had an old one I could borrow. I slammed the door with more force than was strictly necessary and headed for the car. By late afternoon, I was on Cape, direction in hand. I drove along the narrow, winding roads, past scarfy pine trees and low walls of smooth grey stone, occasionally catching sight of the icy blue waters of Nauket. Nauket. Nauket Sound. What does that mean? Yeah. Is it Natuket? Nauket? Mi hata sijui nini iko silent hapo. Above me, granite tree branches intermingled with the power lines, both having been there so long it was hard to tell where one began and the other one ended. My spirit rose at the sights, and melancholy some of my melancholy over Mark's betrayal faded. Melancholy. Melancholy over Mark's betrayal faded. After all, what are men to trees and rocks? Finally, I pulled into a carved tree-lined drive. At the end was rambling two-story house. Hanging over the door was a freshly painted white sign. In the large green letters, it proclaimed, "The Inn at Longbourn." I smiled. Aunt Winnie was a dedicated, some might say an obsessed fan of Pride and Prejudice. As As picture square as it was, I had to admit that I had thought Aunt Winnie was crazy when she bought it several months earlier. She had seen the property while on a tour of Cape Cod and had impulsively decided to buy it, renovate it, and turn it into a B&B, regardless of the fact that she had absolutely no experience in anything of the sort. But Aunt Winnie seldom let logic interfere with her plans. My aunt came bustling out of the door just as I switched off the car's engine. If your idea of a woman of 70 odd years is of the gentile, blue-haired variety, then Aunt Winnie might be something of a shock. Her short, round figure was covered by a long coat that appeared to have been purloined from some of Broadway production. What is that? Purloined. Purloined. As just from some of Broadway production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Technicolor Dreamcoat. But bright as her coat was, it was nothing compared to her short curly hair, currently colored and outrageous shades of red. Aunt Winnie had never married, but that's not to say that she hadn't had offers. She used to joke that she thought marriage was a great institution, but that she didn't want to be in an institution. I think her reluctance had more to do with her childhood than anything else. Her mother had died when she was young, and her father was demanding hypochondriac. What is that? Who was convinced that his death was right around the corner. He withdrew to his room, where he refused and mourned in glorious seclusion. With his retreat, Aunt Winnie had been forced to run the family hardware store. Her two older brothers had left home years earlier and by then had their own careers to run. When her father finally did die 6 years later from pneumonia, no one was more surprised than him. But with his death, Aunt Winnie was free to live her own life, taking her not insignificant inheritance to an investor. She ended up impressing that man with her business savvy and received a job offer instead. Over the next several years, Aunt Winnie worked and learned and continued to grow her inheritance until she was an extremely wealthy woman. The men who wanted to marry her always promised to take her away from all of this, a promise she found unappealing. She liked her work and she was good at it, so she turned them all down, had affairs instead, traveled and made even more money. Let me end this video here and start another one because I want to finish one chapter and then we're gonna do another chapter tomorrow, a day at a time.